Combat aircraft are usually classified into generations delimited by specific characteristics, such as their firepower, their stealth, or their speed. At the moment, the fifth generation, embodied in aircraft such as the F-35 or the J-20, is the most modern, but the main powers are already working on the future. In this context, three nations came together to give life to one of the most ambitious projects in the history of aviation, the GCAP, a sixth-generation fighter from British, Japanese and Italian factories. In this new military aviation video, we are going to tell you all about one of the developments that could set the pulse of future air wars. In December 2022, three of the largest military powers on the planet presented their initiative to develop a new combat aircraft. Japan, Italy and the United Kingdom will develop a fighter under the Global Combat Air Program, also known as GCAP, which aims to create a sixth-generation aircraft by 2035. This news may sound familiar to you, as some of these nations were already in collaborative projects to develop a fighter jet, but now it's an entirely new program. Under GCAP, the three nations committed to pooling their technological and financial resources to produce a single sixth-generation fighter. Japan was committed to the FX fighter project, while the UK and Italy had met around the development of the BAE Systems Tempest. The development will be in charge of the three main aerospace companies of these countries, the British BAE Systems, the Japanese Mitsubishi Heavy Industries and the Italian Leonardo. The joint work of the engineers aims to quickly have an artificial intelligence system to assist the pilot, as well as avionics capable of facing the electronic warfare of the future. According to the UK Ministry of Defence, the three countries are going to work intensively to develop the structure that is needed to bring this ambitious project to fruition. The first milestone is scheduled for 2025, the year in which the development phase should begin. The trio of nations will also draw up a cost-sharing agreement that must be clear and signed before 2025, as they say, good reckonings make good friends. Of course, this will be accompanied by the development of new weapons, although it is expected that each aircraft will carry a mix of missiles and rockets produced by these three countries. In addition to aerospace companies, the European missile manufacturer MBDA will also join the project. Although it is still too early to give precise details of GCAP, there are some issues that can be assumed if we take into account the characteristics of the FX and Tempest programs. Both projects had a dual power plant and had a single cockpit seat. This results in heavier and larger aircraft, but with a greater operational range. Both designs had stealthy qualities and were constructed of radar-absorbing materials. On the Tempest side, it was going to use the Meteor air-to-air missile, while the FX would use an updated version of that same projectile, with a new propulsion system to provide a higher range of effectiveness. The truth is that both the FX and the Tempest had many aspects in common in terms of objectives and fuselage design, which is why the union of the programs was possible. Probably the final result of the GCAP of each participating country has some special characteristics, to adjust to the specific needs of each one, but in general lines the three partners are looking for the same thing, a powerful sixth-generation fighter with a lot of firepower at medium and long distance. None of the three countries promised to give a date for the first flight of this mysterious plane. But this is logical, setting dates can be counterproductive if delays arise. Keep in mind that completely revamped flight systems and avionics must be developed to meet present and future challenges. The processes are long and tedious. For example, the F-35 first flew in the early 2000s, and was not combat ready until 2015. On the other hand, the Russian Su-57 is in an operational limbo since 2002, and only entered service in 2019, although it has not yet achieved a production line. All three countries describe GCAP as a sixth-generation fighter that will be far ahead of current aircraft in technological terms. A common factor between Japan, the United Kingdom and Italy is that their militaries use different versions of the North American F-35, so it is expected that, at a minimum, they will have detection systems, radars and stealth comparable to those of the Lightning II. But why develop a new aircraft if there is already a powerful fighter available? First and foremost, because the participating countries want to reposition themselves as a beacon of global technological development, and that is impossible if you only have jets designed and produced in another country. Second, because such a project will revitalize the aerospace industries, giving a technological but also an economic boost, generating investments and hundreds of thousands of jobs. Ultimately, the prospect of the first export-ready sixth-generation fighter is too great a temptation not to go for it. As you will see, these projects have more than one edge. It is impossible to ignore the context in which this collaboration occurs. In 2022, the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the intensification of Chinese military activity around Japan and Taiwan concerned all NATO member countries, particularly those in close proximity to Russia and China. This deal may help Japan counter the growing military might of its bigger neighbor, and give Britain a greater security role in a region that is a key driver of global economic growth. We commit to upholding a rules-based, free and open international order, which is more important than ever at a time when these principles are being questioned and threats and aggression are increasing, the three countries said in a joint statement of their leaders. The GCAP project is a logical symptom of the tense climate that has been in place for years. As if the sixth-generation fighter were not enough, and amid deteriorating regional security, Japan announced in December 2022 a military build-up plan that is expected to double defense spending to about 2% of gross domestic product in a period of 5 years. At the moment, the Three Musketeers are Japan, Italy, and the United Kingdom, but in the future more nations could join the project, although of course, they should be part of NATO. In the long term, the aircraft resulting from the GCAP project is expected to replace the Typhoon fighters, complementing the F-35s already in service. Only time will tell if this ambitious project will bear fruit, or if it will add to the great cemetery of futuristic fighters that never managed to take off from the hangars. The Mirage family of fighter aircraft has a rich history dating back to the late 1950s. This lineage had its swan song in 1982, when the Mirage 2000 entered service, a powerful combination of innovation and tradition that was the backbone of the French Air Force for 3 decades. In this new episode of Military Aviation, we are going to get to know this last link in depth, and its impressive combat record. In the early 1970s, the French Air Force was searching for a new Snecma M53 twin-jet aircraft, intended for air superiority missions. The program was dubbed Avion de Combat Futur, or Future Fighter Plane. Ironically, if there was anything missing from that project, it was future. In 1975 the project was cancelled, and the French Air Institution decided to go back to basics and launched the Dassault Mirage 2000 single-engine light aircraft program, a return to the Mirage designs of past generations, with a delta wing and several important innovations, which made the last of its lineage a very outstanding ship. But the budget was very low, so in order to stay within the established limits, it was necessary to get rid of some functionalities required by the government. The main thing was to have a single engine, which meant reducing the dimensions and weight, something positive within the cut that implies reducing the power plant. The use of a delta wing design allowed the aerodynamic resistance to be lower, thus optimizing the fuel load, resulting in a light and high-performance craft. This was the first European fighter jet with FBW electronic flight controls, but the innovations didn't end there. In its high delta it had advanced control surfaces, such as flaps and elevons to give it greater flight stability. 5 prototypes of this model were built, 4 of them financed by the Army itself, and 1 by the Dassault company, interested in having a product that could compete with the North American ships that gradually took over the world market. The first of the 5 prototypes made its maiden flight on March 10, 1978, with test pilot Jean Corot at the controls. Building on the Mirage 3 and applying the new technologies available to it enabled the development of a new multi-role fighter in just 27 months from the start of the program to first flight, a true feat of French engineering. The Mirage 2000 is a hybrid of novelty and tradition. Both concepts come together in a modern, single-engine, multi-role fighter that can attack combat missions as a bomber aircraft, and defend itself as a fighter against other high-speed aircraft. The design itself is not very innovative, but a reliable model was chosen that has been tested and used by many countries for years, and in many conflicts, with excellent results. Between 1978 and 1982, multiple flight tests were carried out with the various Mirage prototypes. The fourth, which was financed by the company, was focused on the development of new ideas and equipment that could be applied in the fighters of the future. It was a kind of guinea pig from the skies. Among these tests, the Mirage 2000B training two-seater, the most modern of the entire series, was also carried out. In parallel, the French Air Force ordered a two-seater version prepared for nuclear attack and armed with ASMP cruise missiles, then under development. Later we will detail all the weapons that this combat plane had. After several tests, and with more than one alternative version ready for production, the Dassault Mirage 2000 entered operational service in November 1982, thus beginning an important history for French aviation. The Mirage 2000, which entered production in 1982, had a length of 14.3 meters and a wingspan of 9.13 meters. If we compare it to later fighters like the F-22 or the F-35, the French model is quite small and light. The Mirage has an empty weight of 7,500 kilograms, but could be lifted with a maximum weight of up to 13,800 kilograms, which was usually taken care of by bombs, missiles, and rockets. Being a single-engine model, the power plant had to be efficient and powerful. A Snecma M53P2 afterburning turbofan was chosen, allowing it to reach a top operating speed of 2,338 km per hour, or Mach 2.2, at high altitude, or 1,110 km per hour at low altitude. The French did not skimp when it came to arming the Mirage 2000. It had two DEFA 554 30mm guns with 150 rounds each. This weapon has a rate of fire of 1,300 rounds per minute, so the capacity of each DEFA 554 was a few but intense seconds. But in case the guns did not have enough power, the Mirage 2000 had 9 anchor points, 4 of them under the wings and the other 5 under the fuselage, with a total load capacity of 6,300 kilograms of explosive. Each ship was usually equipped with either 2 GBU-12 Paveway 2 bombs, or 9 500-pound Mk-82 general-purpose bombs. In addition, it had 18 Matras 68mm rockets, and an impressive assortment of air-to-air and air-to-surface missiles, including the Matra R-550 Magic II, the Rafael Python and the AM.39 Exocet anti-ship missile. As is logical, time saw the emergence of new versions of the Mirage 2000. The first was the Mirage 2000C, a letter that identifies it as Kaza, or fighter. We already told you about the B, for training, and the N, suitable for nukes, but there is also the D, specialized in conventional ground attack, and the 5, an update made in the late 80s. Then came custom incarnations for each user country, such as P for Peru or H for Egypt. Since we know the figures and the destructive power, it is time to delve into the practical part of every ship, its service history. Although France does not usually have the publicity of other powers, the truth is that it is a constant actor in the combats and clashes in Africa and the Middle East. For example, the Mirage 2000 was used during the Gulf War, between August 1990 and February 1991, in a coalition formed with the United States. They also participated in intra-European wars, such as the Bosnian War between 1992 and 1995, in which one of the first and most serious demolition of this model occurred. A Mirage 2000 K2, the nuclear-compatible version, bit the dust after bombing a target in the Pale region. The pilot and navigator survived, but remained prisoners for a few months. Among the most recent actions of this model is its participation in U.S. operations in Afghanistan between 2001 and 2002, and in March 2011, as part of the NATO excursion to establish a no-fly zone in Libya. In general, in all these experiences, the fighter designed in just 27 months always came out gracefully and with great results. For that simplicity and power, he was chosen by several countries, including Brazil, Egypt, Greece, and India. It is believed that the latter country would use the Mirage 2000 for the role of nuclear attack, a mode of infrequent use, but one that the ship is prepared to face. This long history brings us to the present, and to wonder what place the legendary Dassault Mirage 2000 occupies in today's military aviation. The truth is that the emergence of more modern and powerful models has relegated it to second place. Even if we put aside the American and Russian aircraft, fighter jets like the Dassault Rafale and the Saab 39 Gripen have dominated the European market in recent years. France has some 250 active Mirage 2000s, and while it has recently modernized versions, it is gradually replacing them with the Rafale, and it is believed that the last heir to the Mirage lineage will be permanently retired in the coming years. Even so, it is already assured of a chapter in the history of world aviation. And now, we want to know your opinion. Do you think the Dassault Mirage 2000s have a few more years of service on their horizon? Leave us your answer in the comment box. And stay tuned for our next video.